Hi everyone, I'm State Senator Sharon Hewitt. I've been getting a lot of questions about the constitutional amendments on the November 13th ballot, and I thought I'd take a few minutes to tell you why I'm supporting all four constitutional amendments and to give you a little bit more information. These amendments collectively are going to do four things. They're going to help our small business owners. They're going to reduce your taxes. They're going to provide valuable and important flood control funding, and they're going to protect funding for higher education and health care. So let's go through these one at a time. The first constitutional amendment is called the Centralized Sales Tax Collection Bill. This is going to, right now, provide relief for small business owners. Currently, business owners in Louisiana have to deal with 54 parish tax collectors in submitting sales taxes. What this amendment will do is it will put us on par with every other state by allowing these business owners to submit their sales taxes to the state. The state will keep their portion and then deal with the confusing proposition of sending sales taxes at the appropriate amount to the 54 different parish tax collectors. This is a very important thing for our small business owners and something that I support. Our second constitutional amendment is going to reduce your taxes, your state sales taxes. It actually does two things. It reduces your state income tax by lowering the brackets, with our top bracket being lowered from 6% to 4.75%. And similarly, it's also going to lower the tax brackets for corporate taxes, with our upper bracket being lowered from 8% to 7.5%. Now, some other states are doing this, and what they're doing to fund that or to offset that is they're increasing taxes in other areas. We're not doing that in Louisiana. We are eliminating a deduction that you currently enjoy, whereby you are able to reduce from your state income taxes the federal income taxes that you've paid. This is problematic from a state budgeting standpoint, and I'll give you an example. So when President Trump cut your federal income taxes, it gave you a smaller deduction on your state taxes, and you actually paid more state income taxes. So it was a bonanza for the state. We ended up receiving more revenue than we had budgeted. Conversely, the Biden administration is promising to raise your federal taxes, which means you'll have an increase in your federal tax deduction on your state taxes and will pay less state taxes, thus hurting the state's overall revenue collection, and they would likely be less than we budgeted. Decoupling the federal actions from the state budget is very important in good fiscal policy. No other state other than one does what we're doing in Louisiana. So by reducing the tax brackets and eliminating the deduction, 90% or more of taxpayers in Louisiana will pay the same or less state income taxes. And we believe businesses will view this as a very positive sign that Louisiana is serious about moving towards no state income taxes. We built triggers in the legislation, should you vote yes on the constitutional amendment, that will continue to ratchet down the brackets and the amount of state income taxes that you pay as we enjoy increased revenue from businesses wanting to move to Louisiana. This is good tax policy and something that I definitely support. Constitutional Amendment number 3 deals with flood protection, an issue that is very near and dear to my heart. Current law allows levee districts that were created before 2006 to be able to levy up to a 5 mil property tax. Levee districts formed after 2006, such as the St. Tammany Levee District and 7 other levee districts, currently do not have that constitutional authority. Why is this a problem? Well, because then we have no local revenue to use as match money to draw down federal funding or state funding. The locals have no skin in the game whatsoever on providing flood protection. So the way this amendment is drafted is the amendment would have to pass statewide to give these 8 levee districts the authority to do that. In addition, I demanded an amendment that also said that the voters in each of those levee districts have to pass this constitutional amendment to give their levee districts the authority to levy up to the 5 mil property tax. Without that amendment, voters in other parts of the state could levy a tax on my constituents for things that perhaps we didn't agree with. So this, in effect, by having the amendment added to the bill, will allow voters in these levee districts to basically give voter approval for their levee districts to have a pot of money by which they can prioritize flood control projects. This is no different than what we do for parish taxes or school taxes. We vote for a millage and depend on those officials to prioritize important road projects and school improvement projects on our behalf. I have been fighting for flood control since being elected. We have been working on the Slidell levee, the ring levee. That's about a $10 million project that we have been adding to over the years. This last session, I secured another $15 million in funding for the engineering and technical work to be done in the Eden Niles area, the South Slidell area, and the Military Road area that will lead to another $140 million in funding for flood protection in our area. This is a very important constitutional amendment, and I hope that the voters across the state, as well as my home parish of St. Tammany, will vote for this amendment. Constitutional Amendment number 4 deals with dedicated funds, something I have been championing for the last 5 years. As you know, I have been leading an effort to review every dedicated fund, and there are 400 of them. We have conducted public hearings on 400 dedicated funds to evaluate whether or not they're needed. The problem that I have with dedicated funds is that they get their funding right off the top, and that is basically 2/3 of the state's budget. 1/3 of the budget is left where those entities are competing for funding every year, year in and year out, primarily in the areas of higher education and health care. So in years of a budget shortfall, the only thing that we can do as legislators is cut the state general fund, meaning health care and higher education get cut. These other dedicated funds continue to grow and really are not subjected to budget cuts. What this constitutional amendment will do is it will allow us during those years of a budget shortfall to cut dedicated funds up to 10%, thereby allowing health care and higher education to not be so severely cut until we can get our revenue and our expenses back in line. I think this is good fiscal policy, and it certainly helps protect areas that are important to all of us, meaning healthcare and higher education. So that's it. I'm voting yes on all 4 constitutional amendments. The election is November 13th. Early voting has already begun. If you'd like to read more about the constitutional amendments, there's a terrific nonpartisan website called parlouisiana.org, P-A-R, Louisiana.org, and you could read more about the pros and the cons of each of these 4 constitutional amendments. It's a busy time for all of us, and I know it's a busy time for you with the holidays approaching. If you'd like to keep up with me on social media, it's easy to do through my Facebook and Twitter accounts, or better yet, go to SharonHewitt.com and sign up for my email newsletters. Or come look for me in person. I'm traveling the state right now, leading the redistricting effort as we take the new census data and debate publicly how we should change the political boundaries so that you feel like you're being fairly and equitably represented at the state and the federal level. Our team has been to Shreveport and Monroe and Lafayette. We'll be in Alexandria November the 9th. We'll be in Covington November 30th, and lots of other major cities across the state. Hope you'll come find us and participate in the debate, or go to legis.la.gov and click on the redistricting button there to follow everything that we're doing. This is intended to be a very transparent and public and open process, and I hope that you'll participate. Great visiting with you. Take care. Have a great day.